Okay, everyone, we are coming live here. Kurt is a couple minutes behind here, so we will see him shortly. Right now, it's going to start with me and Mac, and then everyone watching this gets to see us do it live, because I have never attempted to add someone to a live stream before while we were actually doing this. So you're probably going to see some OBS screens, Open Broadcaster Studio there, and see how it all works here in a sec. But first, we are going to go live with just me and Mac. And there we are. All right. Okay, and there he is. There we go. Now
How's it
I
going?
can see things. Kinda. Hey, look, I moved it and you moved. That's what I wanted to do. Right? Like I said, you guys are going to see us setting some OBS stuff up here for a second so we can go live. There we go. That's good enough for that version.
Yep.
All right. So how's it going there? Oh, that is a good handle. So tonight we're going to be talking with a bunch of people. I want to give shout outs to all the followers that joined us over the last few days, and of course shout outs to all the past guests. Specifically, today we added one of our followers as a VIP, Doxy, for just being the best person ever. Thanks for all the help recently. And now let's obviously talk about what is on most people's minds for the moment that are absolutely insane. And that's a tweet I just read from a right-winger already contemplating on social media that the left planned this shooting at the mall that's currently, going on, and that all the people involved with planning it had already changed their profile pictures to match this black and white thing that is, obviously their version of mourning for this event. And that they had done it an hour before the shooting even started. Obviously, it's a Democratic ploy. Of course, none of that's true. This is just, like, insanity. Utter insanity.
It's like the idea that a group of people could be well coordinated enough to orchestrate something like this secretly without any leaks of information, but dumb enough to do it before it actually went off is are they so competent no one could ever uncover their schemes, or are they so cartoonishly incompetent that a child could figure this one out?
Now, here's my favorite part about this, because all the news is out there. There's just over an hour of coverage of this now, and it's at a Wisconsin mall, and there's supposedly 8 people injured, and it's just this travesty of an event, and of course right-wingers are quickly latching onto it. Now, this person who says this, and I'm going to read this tweet, mass shooting at a Wisconsin mall. I guess that's why the Democrats went black and white with their profile pics earlier, before it happened, with the little emoji. And of course, that person changed their profile picture to a black and white picture this morning. and so the first response,
good self-awareness. Yeah.
The first response is, of course, by the way, your pic is black and white. Coincidence? And it's these people. This is what we're up against. These are the people who are on the other side from us. They are that stupid. I've been told many times to stop calling them stupid and just saying, we have policy differences. But I don't have... That's not policy differences.
No,
that person's a moron.
You and I have policy differences.
Yeah, yeah.
There's not a policy difference when it's just fucking stupid.
Yeah, what are people even... oh my god, just... Yeah, I don't know, man. I've been thinking a lot lately about what's going on, and, how do we come back from this, and the possibility that we don't. That, sure, oh, Biden won. And so many of my friends are happy about that. And I'm like, well, I'm happy Trump lost.
That's
as far as I'm going there.
Step 1 out of a million to avoid destruction.
Yeah, like, I mean, that's going to keep the rest of the world from ganging up and deciding we just need to be dealt with if another 4 years of Trump could have possibly brought. But no, man.
It's okay. We'll make up for it when Tom Cotton becomes president in 2024.
No. I can't say what comes to mind there because just saying it is some kind of a felony.
Yeah, it's fair.
No, just no. So we've got Kurt joining us now to continue talking about these insane people.
Hello.
Here he is. All right, so everybody watching, you're gonna get to see how I possibly set this up now because there they both are on that side, but I'd like to instead use this view. And so we're going to figure that out right now because, that's how you do it live, right?
Yeah.
All right, everybody. This is how OBS actually works. You do all of this fun stuff right there, and then some of this, and some of that, and here.
I think I've fixed my microphone problems this time around too.
Oh my god, you sound so much better.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that is perfect. So, and this is also showing how little I have using this software, of course. There's good old Kurt being brought back on the screen and gone. And then here is this one maybe getting aligned a little. And I'm going to accept that for Mac. I'm accepting it. It's where we are. All right. And then we have a second little setup here for everyone. And this is going to switch to that same wonderful screen. Maybe.
Could.
It didn't, though.
Yeah.
That's really where we're at. I mean, it thought it was going to. We're getting all kinds of fun right now. It would seem I have a message up that is blocking me, and we're just going to have to live with that. You know what, Kurt? You are currently a gray line. That is how this is going to work out right now.
Oh boy.
We are going to just do this right here. We're going to have you guys right there, and that's just going to be that, yo. Because I didn't get to set things up beforehand, because we were all late. Except for Mac. Mac would have been on time. We cool with this, guys?
Sure.
Sure.
Right?
All right.
All right, so Kurt, what you got to miss out on there was just more absolute Q insanity that I just saw go by as we were starting up. And I think it's a good lead-in to just how crazy these people are. And I read this out on the stream, but I'll read it for you. We have the mall shooting that is currently in Wisconsin, right? With 8 injured supposedly, and there's a tweet here from a obvious Q and Trump supporting Republican, whose name is President-elect Infidel Angela. So we already kind of get an idea of who this person is.
Oh boy!
And their tweet is, mass shooting at a Wisconsin mall. I guess that's why the Democrats went black and white with their profile pics earlier, before it happened. And then she follows that up with, I said I felt a false flag coming that would be blamed on Trump supporters, and now we have it.
Where the fuck do they get this stuff? Like,
you see, anytime something happens, it has to be somehow involved with their narrative. Otherwise, I guess Q or whoever is no longer the genius that knows all of the events, and so
Hey, don't forget
has to be
Q.
incorporated.
Q is a time traveler after all.
That is fair, with godlike powers over the space-time continuum.
Yes.
Well-known fact.
I just, in my wildest dreams, I could never come up with that. I have written a lot in my life, and I know I'm not good at the writing, but I'm better than that, and I still, there's no way I come up with this. Where? So I was talking to Mac before you got here about the idea that how do we come back from this? How do we look at this level of stupidity and look at the fact that 70 million of them voted for Trump and then somehow become a country again? Like, I'm not feeling like they're my people. I don't really want to share space with them anymore. I don't know. What?
It's at the very least, you're going to have to figure out a way to deprogram them. It's just like any cult following. You got to have an exit strategy, just like off-ramp them from it. It's a lot to unpack.
It's so tough because you like talk to people that have gotten out of it before, and they're like, yeah, man, I don't know where my head was. I was real dumb. I got nothing. Like, I can tell you, like, I was in a dark place before that, and it seemed appealing. And you can listen to them and like be like, yeah, that sucks. Like, that's tough. But like, how do you come at someone that's in that place now? And they're like, no.
So we find ourselves last week having a fun conversation with you as Kurt, as everything starts to come about and full circle here.
Indeed.
And you're out. There's news articles explaining your past fun. There are AMAs on Reddit explaining both your past fun and your past indiscretions, depending on which wonderful comments in the thread you were reading.
Yes.
It's been an interesting week in terms of that. But then this week, we're a week past where you started talking about, here are the things I've decided to do. And you've done some of them. And I wanted to bring you back to have that conversation about some of these fun antics that I've been watching kind of on the sidelines go down, but everyone else hasn't really been able to see the inner workings of or see the extent of. And of course, I want to preface this with... I realize that there's all kinds of fun things that you could and could not say here, and things that you definitely should not say from the last week, and my hand will be very near the mute button if I see you accidentally slipping up on that one. Not because I want, I fear anything on my end, but, don't make those mistakes.
Yeah, I'm a law-abiding citizen.
Exactly, we all are, but you can word things in a way where it doesn't sound like it, and so we're going to make sure we don't do that.
Indeed. Well,
yes, we are reading chat.
Yes, we are indeed reading chat.
Yes, I'm reading chat, and we're going to get to the Wagyu beef. Okay, so let's start with the parlor. Shall we?
Let's start with Parler. So for those who don't know Parler, it's basically Twitter for conservative nut jobs who wanted to kind of build up their own website where they wouldn't censor people because obviously censorship is wrong, and they kept getting censored on all of these fun systems like Twitter, Facebook, and everything else. And they built a system that they said they weren't going to censor people on. And of course, since have deleted, blocked, and banned generally every strong lefty who's tried to use the system. So, yeah,
we
sure.
We're talking about Gab?
Oh, yeah, exactly. But it's every system they make, they say it's about censorship, and then they censor everyone they don't like, the same as, all the other platforms.
And we're the snowflakes with the safe spaces. Right?
Yeah. So
Totally.
You have decided that... that maybe, since that's where that's where a lot of the other people are that are caught up in this cult, you were going to have some fun over there.
Yeah, so Parler's been a subject of interest on many levels. Recently, there's been news coming about that there is some Cambridge Analytica connections. The Mercer family has a lot of funding involved. So there's a lot of eyeballs on the platform. And we discovered that you can have some fun with a verified account. The thing with Parler is that in order to have a verified account, you need to submit your identification. So you need to give them photo ID, a driver's license, whatever, and you need to give them, in some cases, your social security number. So they're taking a lot of your personal information to validate your identity. But you can just change your username after you get that badge. Like, it's worthless. So you take a look at the verified checkmark on Twitter. If you change your username, that checkmark goes away. You can change your display handle. Yep. So you can do like your fun, your Christmas name or your Halloween name or whatever. But if you change that at username, you lose the verification. It's a protection against this.
You didn't used to. This was only a fix pretty recently in terms of how long they've been up. They made that change a couple years ago due to people playing around in this exact same way. Yeah. You used to be able to change your verified @ to someone else's name, and a few accounts got phished and then switched over with the verified checkmark, and so they made the same change. But Parler has not learned that lesson yet, or have they? No.
Additionally, as said in the chat, you do need to be a person of interest in order to get that gold badge. There's 2 levels of identification on Parler. There's the red badges, and then there's the gold ones. The gold ones are basically equivalent to Twitter's blue check marks. So we started crafting some fun content for a Ron Watkins account. Before that, we had done Jim Watkins. You are very well aware of that.
Yes.
Yeah. We had some fun. We'll put it that way. And now everybody just on the tip of their tongue has Wagyu beef hat, which frankly, I mean, that's probably some of the most fun trolling crafting that I've had in a long time. He's never going to live that one down. On top of that, it hasn't really been reported yet in mainstream media that this so-called exploit actually exists. So if whoever is watching has a Parler account and you happen to have a verified gold badge, well, you're welcome, because you still have at least another, probably I'd say a week or so to go have your fun. I don't know, maybe play around as Donald Trump a little bit. I'm not sure on the legality of that. You might want to go and check on impersonating the president of the United States, but at least I warned you.
Don't fix
Clock's
it.
ticking.
Clock's ticking indeed. The big thing about this is that essentially every single verified account on the Parler platform is now null and void. You can't trust any of them. They're completely and utterly useless. I don't even know how they're going to handle this. It's going to be a complete and utter nightmare for them internally. I can say that much.
I mean, so is another 20 or so things that happened this week that we're still waiting to get public. But it's been a fun week. But, the one thing that I want to say for anyone who picks this up on YouTube or is watching and doesn't know, Jim Watkins is the person who took over 8chan, now 8kun, and a lot of people believe to be behind most of Q at this current point. And
he also
Ron,
stole 2channel from Hiroyuki.
Yeah, but, I hate Jim, but I also am not a Hiroyuki fan either, so, I'm like, I'm
not, but realistically, that's not his website. He stole it.
No, of course not. He stole it.
Hiroyuki's a dick.
Yeah.
IMO. But theft ain't okay. Not like that.
Not like that. But Ron is Jim's son, and this interesting thing happened on Parler as well, where supposedly Ron came on and verified that Dad was Q, and that was my favorite moment of the week. Yeah.
Yes, picked up by Gizmodo almost immediately.
People were watching, and that verified. And you know, the best part about the verified over there, as we all spent 4 years wondering if the Donald Trump P tapes were ever going to come out. The Parler verification is a P, not a check mark, and so you get a golden P for being verified on the Republican social media. And what? Who thought that was a good idea?
No, their entire platform is just one gigantic joke in the making.
Yeah.
Oy.
Okay,
I mean,
so
that's what happens every time right-wingers try to make like their social media alternative. They make it, and it's always this bad, and it always blows up in their face. And
the community completely and utterly eats itself alive.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they are just as I mean, a lot of people like to refer to the Republicans, and then they'll look over on the left and they'll say, well, you've got the corporate Dems, you've got the elitists, you've got the progressives, you've got the far lefty Antifa types, and they're all over there. But, the right is just as broken up into small groups, into factions, as the left is. And
to some extent that's true, but the right is way better at ultimately getting in line, because when you get right down to it, people on the right have this set of beliefs about how social hierarchy is necessary, and because they all support there being a hierarchy, other people that want a hierarchy are kind of in same relative places for the most part.
Right.
So they kind of ultimately get along, whereas people on the left are broadly anti-hierarchy, but they have a million different ways to go about it, so they're so at each other's throats about that they don't end up cooperating on the larger level, especially when they have to deal with centrists and non-left-wingers, because
the right-wing are better at presenting a unified front.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's interesting. So
Reagan's 11th commandment.
Yes. So now there are 100 other fun little things going on in the background that I've been able to kind of pay attention to beyond just the Parler fun of the last week.
Yes.
And I'm wondering what you might want to talk about. What else from all the fun?
Well, during the Million MAGA March, we got the first mainstream QAnon account to tweet something about Googling the Lemon Party.
Yes, you did.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was the high watermark for me. Just going and sifting through all those replies to it on Twitter. All those boomers being like, I just found some really nasty porn. Is Don Lemon associated with this?
Oh my god.
Oh wow, that's a great connection I didn't even come up with.
Yeah. And Don Lemon is an Antifa supporter.
So we've spent the last week, especially the couple days of that, last weekend, kind of working against the people on the ground organizing there, like Pat King specifically. And at one point for the middle of the day there, we ended up with good old Pat King's cell phone number, and I don't know if you called him, but I did. It was fun.
I didn't.
He hung up on me in 5 seconds, so it wasn't really worth doing anything with. But, these people who organize these things are surprisingly stupid and bad at OPSEC, so there's a new one coming up in a couple weeks, and I would say everyone just go have as much fun with them as you possibly can.
I mean, if you paid attention to history, it's not really much of a surprise they're bad at OPSEC, because they always are.
Yeah, they've never been good at it.
They're bad at security in general, I've noticed.
Yeah. I won't get into a lot of details on that one, as we're still having a lot of fun. But but what I will say is, it's surprisingly easy to interrupt these people in all of their actions, and make it very hard for them to be organized. Even if you didn't think they were going to be good at it in the first place, you could make it far worse for them.
Yeah.
So one of the other things that we've learned about that is now kind of being posted at least a little bit publicly about, so I feel okay mentioning it, is that they are building out another kind of social network type of a site beyond Gab and beyond Parler. and it is called, I believe, the Patriot Party.
Oh boy.
And so, you know, we don't have any information on that one yet, but everyone should go look at the couple public posts that have happened. There's a couple on Twitter, some on Parler, about the fact that this is coming down the pipeline, and I find that hilarious. I also find the fact that Rob Monster helped them procure some of the infrastructure for it even worse.
Patriot Party, how U.S. centric, because that's definitely a route to a healthy social network.
Yeah, well, a healthy social network is also built on top of Microsoft products that have per user pricing, which is what's coming here. So let's go.
Oh.
That's gonna work. Yeah, have fun with that, people.
This scales well.
I mean that. Yeah, what? But you know, the thing, while we were watching all of that go down over the last week, me and you were in a chat where we got to watch you specifically getting attacked. And not in the standard, you know, all the channers, even on your own site, like to pay you back for what you do to them. You know, it's a fair play there, right? You troll them, they troll you. That's fair play. But
the cum dogs for Satan.
Exactly. See, but there are groups out there, especially, funny enough, German groups, who have gotten very angry with your resurgence and have attempted to remove you from social media.
Yeah, so a lot of these people don't seem to realize that if you are using a sock puppet account on Twitter or, you know, most social media, you're probably not going to have your phone number on the account verified. You're not going to have an established history. You're probably not a real, like you're a persona or some kind of anonymous account. You're not under your real name. You're not a noteworthy person, so on and so forth. So when you have your little Twitter wars and report each other's accounts and get each other banned, that rule set does not apply for somebody that has had an account for 12 years, is a real person, and is noteworthy. I ate no less than 10 suspensions within a single hour the other night, which really all I was doing was laughing. I had my Twitter up, usually on one of my displays, and the moment a suspension happens, it just automatically takes you to the screen. It's not like you're going and clicking through tweets, stuff not work, and then you refresh. No, it just a dialogue just comes right up, and it gives you the option to just delete the tweets in question. So I'm like, oh, thank you, I missed that one. A few minutes later,
right.
Oh, thank you, I missed those ones too. Delete, 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 so on and so forth. They weren't exactly offensive tweets either. I mean, it was
that's subjective.
Like, well, I mean, subjective, but I mean, if you're gonna take stuff like "kill all men" or "kill all gamers" seriously, that's on you.
Yeah, right. Seriously.
Yeah. So there's some people that are probably very angry that they weren't able to take down my account, and every single day, I get an email at least once or twice a day, where German accounts have reported me saying stuff like "punch all Nazis." So it's become a daily ritual now to just take a screenshot of the report, tweet it, and just reiterate "punch all Nazis." And for anybody watching, I would love to invite you to join in the fun. If you tweet "punch all Nazis" once a day, at the very least, I don't know, maybe they'll realize that they can't shut everybody up. That'd be fun.
What's funny about that is when you tweeted that out, it was the first one you tweeted out was a retweet of me saying "it's always Punch a Nazi Day."
Yes.
And I got reported, but I didn't get any suspensions or told to remove anything, and nothing happened in Germany with my account because of that verified check mark. They just, we get a lot more leeway than the regular users, and while I see no reason that I deserve that check mark, I have it. And it was interesting watching a bunch of other accounts go through hell while I sat there being basically immune to it.
Yeah. I've had one tweet so far censored in Germany out of all of them. Like, there is just whoever was on shift that day decided, you know what, I'm going to hit this button instead of the other button. So one of them is censored in Germany. The rest of them are just like, oh, we didn't do anything to you.
How do people in Germany get to a point where censoring someone saying "punch all Nazis" is the right move? Like, how do you, like, of all places, it's actually illegal.
First they join AFD.
Yes.
And then
It's
it just
actually
kinda comes
illegal.
naturally because they take it personally.
That is Pepsi, by the way, chat. I do not drink. If you watch the Barrett Bound episode, you will hear him multiple times call me not fun. My not fun is because every time we've been out, even when we were out with like good friends, I do not drink alcohol and never have. So no, for me, it is actually just Pepsi. I've actually never tasted alcohol, so like I have no idea what it is like in my life. So
Wait, what?
not once.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he's all weird like that.
Yeah.
You smoke weed at least?
I've
Anything?
never done any drugs, and I really feel bad even when I take like Excedrin. Like I mean, like that's the worst thing I've ever done.
Okay, all right. We have a straight edger here. Interesting.
You know, I mean, straight edge comes along with a lot of other stupidity. It's a
That's true.
fucking cult. So I am definitely not that. I am a good old teetotaler, to use the like 100-year-old version of that.
Okay, noted. No,
Not normal in our crowd, you know. Like yeah. As he reaches for the bottle,
Really isn't.
like as he's falling out of the chair, reaching for the bottle. Like yeah. Oh my god, dude.
I got so drunk by the end of the last show. I think I'm keeping pace so far.
Wow. You know, hey, good job, non-insurgency. Keep it strong there. Yeah. What do we got here in the chat? People who triggered. Oh yeah. Oh my God, the Wolfenstein triggered people. What is wrong with people?
Oh yeah. The thing with first of
Who
all,
could have seen
That's
shirt.
awesome.
Wolfenstein getting political?
is
Game
actually apparently everything that I own has some level of chroma key compatibility, so that's been a lot of fun. So now I have a transparent 420chan logo just like emblazoned on my chest.
And for everyone who didn't know, that is the 420chan logo.
Yes.
And you can order this merch where?
I will get back to you on that.
You know, just for future reference, when you show off merch in a way that makes the merch look cool, like you should have the merch available.
You know what? I put this on. I honestly didn't realize what was going to happen. I sat down, I turned on my camera, and I'm like, oh crap, I'm see-through.
Right?
Yeah.
And now we know why Kurt was 3 minutes late. He was trying to figure out where his body went.
Exactly. The funny thing, and back to the Wolfenstein thing, yeah, you can't show swastikas. In fact, they were very protective over certain aspects of video games for the longest time, like the German version of Half-Life, or a Germany version of Half-Life. Everybody in the game is replaced by a robot, and instead of blood, they have oil squirts. That's how controlling they were. It's eased up over the years, but you can't show anything Nazi like, so no swastikas, none of that stuff, no Sig Heils, none of that rhetoric.
I mean, I think I'm fine with, public displays of Nazism being, banned in some way, unless it's like, say, Call of Duty Cold War Zombies Edition, where you're doing nothing but killing Nazis. Like, you should be allowed to, like, graphically kill Nazis. That should be okay. Everything else should be off.
I know that the restrictions in Germany actually allow for a bunch of forms of artistic expression involving it, but, like, no one wants to get close to the line and risk it, so everyone's just like, we're just avoid it.
Yeah, just walk away from this one.
It's not a fight worth having. You never want to be the person in the news for, they're fighting to be allowed to display the swastika in Germany.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a bad look.
That is a bad look. But now your account is perfectly fine in all of these wonderful places for your Twitter account.
Yes, my Facebook.
This is the next one.
Yeah.
You're dead.
I was dead. I was officially Facebook dead, memorialized, rested in peace for probably about 3 or 4 hours. They thought that it would actually piss me off, but I laughed. I just
hilarious.
Straight up, like, that was the funniest thing imaginable. I also considered it a threat against my life.
Right.
At some level. I mean, you don't want to mess around with that kind of thing. Also, Probably not the best idea to falsify government documents, like faking a death certificate. But that could probably get you in a lot of shit if somebody were to really want to pursue that. So behave.
So what he's saying is the laptop you do this from is running cubes. It's not at your house. You didn't buy it with a credit card. You make sure that MAC address a randomization is on. And so on and so on. There's about 500 more steps past that, including all 7 proxies. But, you know, it's the start of how you do what you did.
Yeah. Don't fucking do it again, I swear to God.
Yeah, once is funny. Twice starts to just become work.
Yep. It's a simple email form to get it fixed up. Like, apparently this is such a problem that Facebook has a dedicated form for, has your account been accidentally memorialized? You send them a selfie, photo ID, and you know the usual rigmarole. It's like, yes, I am alive. Then your account lights back up, and I went and I logged in. It was just a whole bunch of people being like, "Rest in peace." And a lot of confused family.
That is insanity.
Yeah. Rumors of my demise have been greatly anticipated.
So you got through that, and it wasn't that hard. I mean, it was like 3 hours later, you're back up, you're running fine.
Yeah.
No worries, right?
No worries whatsoever. I didn't have to do a back and forth email chain. I didn't need to do any additional verification. It's just like, what's your name? You upload an image, you'll sign in later. Took them probably about 3 or 4 hours. Pretty good.
Right. Yeah. Now, who were these people who decided that you were problematic?
So a lot of anons on Facebook, and
which, by the way, parse that, anons on Facebook.
On Facebook.
Yeah, anon on Facebook. Like, what the heck? Doesn't even make any sense. They have not taken too well to the fact that I exist. They have been so angry that they have whipped themselves up into a frenzy and convinced each other that I have successfully brainwashed you, Greg.
Oh, nice.
Multiple members of the mainstream media, and a whole bunch of gullible, useful idiots into confirming my veracity. So congratulations, you're now one of my thralls.
Ah, well then, it feels good, man. Feels good. I feel like, you know, I was really not having fun making my own decisions, living my own life. I really needed someone to kind of step in and take this from me. So thank you.
Yeah, as we all know, I have a lot of experience running cults.
Yeah, about that. Okay, so we're just going through a week of everyone kind of adjusting to the fact that you now exist, and that, you know, even though you have existed, that you now exist again. You know, that here we are with Kurt back out in the public, and this week looks kind of hilarious because in it you are memorialized on Facebook. You get tweets banned in Germany, and you end up just having this fight with Facebook anons who, like, don't mind being called that over whether or not you truly are any of the things that have been said about you.
Yeah. They also think that Topiary is dead and that I'm secretly Sabu, so that's something.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't know where they get this stuff.
Did you point them at?
I'm kind of confused on that one.
Did you point them at his Twitter account, Double Jake, where they can go ask him how he's doing?
Yes, I point these things out, and they immediately go to it's a lie. It's all lie. It's all fake. You're just trying to confuse us and trick us. Say hi to Jake from the grave for me.
Wow. You know, I want to point out that, you know, this wasn't the thing I thought we were going to be doing on this show going forward, but we now have a top pun of of all time on the show. It's
Yeah,
replaced the non-existent one that was there before. Thanks, Topo Cato there for the discourteous. That was beautiful. Ugh. So you're alive, you're well, things are going good. The media thinks some of the things you have done are funny and are starting to report on it. Yes. We're getting, beyond just the Kurt is back, we're starting to get some articles being written that are coming out next week about the parlor fun and all the other little antics that are coming, right?
Yes. I know Washington Post is getting ready to publish. Gizmodo is working on a follow-up piece, and Ars Technica, and I believe NBC. They're in the process of doing various write-ups, but differences in scope for each. I'm pretty sure that Washington Post and NBC are just doing a more broad piece on just the entire parlor shit show, but the other ones are probably going to be a little bit more focused.
Good times.
Mm-hmm.
So the fight with Q, let's kind of circle back because they're insane. They aren't just like stupid, but they're like, there's a difference between just being dumb and being wrong and literally being fucking insane. And they are too. Both. Yeah, I mean, they are absolutely both. And you have kind of kicked that hornet's nest and started to have some fun with it. So beyond just the Facebook Anons and other kind of, for lack of a better way of putting this, our people who are mad at you in the old anonymous is Anonymous's worst enemy kind of a sense.
Yes.
Have you heard from any of these people about what's going on other than the standard right-wing ploy of debate me? Like, have you heard anything better than that?
Really, I really got to think about that, because they all just fall back to the exact same cult-like garbage every single time.
Yeah,
Can you disprove what he said here? That type of junk.
Can you disprove that Democrats eat children?
Yeah, no, but can you prove it? Like, I mean, come on, like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, like seriously.
So you're still in this fight with them. They haven't really come at you as strong as, honestly, I had hoped, because, I know you can handle it. Well, wait for it.
Just wait on that one.
I know you can handle it, and I'm waiting for them to do it because I know it's going to be hilarious. And the one thing I was hoping to get when you showed back up on the scene was a lot more of the lulls that had been kind of lacking for the last few years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's been pretty one-sided lulls. Just like it's like going and pushing over somebody that has a broken leg and laughing at them and then like peeing on them and just all kinds of degrading stuff, and they just like they can't even fight back. They're just like, I'm resigned to my fate.
Well, you did come back in an interesting point for them where most of what Q had said would be happening around this time is not happening. And so they're having to grapple with the fact that before they could say, well, you can't disprove any of these things because none of them had time periods on them. None of them had strong actions. They were purple elephant eats at midnight. And you'd be like, what does that mean? And they'd try and explain it to you and you'd get 20 different versions. But there were ones that they had interpreted as Trump will win, this will happen, these people will go to jail, and none of that happened. So a lot of the Q cult are dealing with all of the lies and starting to figure out that maybe some of it wasn't real. And
the problem you have there, though, is that, like, well, just for a comparison, if you look back at, like, the Christian revivalist movement of the late 19th and early 20th century, they kept predicting, like, the end of the world, which was sort of a rehash of what happened from the first century Christians with Jesus. There are those that shall not pass before blah, blah, blah. But you had a bunch of different groups of Christians successively go, the end of the world is coming on this date, and you can tell from the Bible. And then, like, that date would pass, and they'd go, I totally misread this. My bad, guys. But this time I got it right. And
people would keep following them.
It's like different people came out with new dates. But like somehow, despite
my star
over
charts,
and over, people don't like leave. They don't go, oh, they're all full of shit. This isn't happening at all. They go, oh no, obviously that guy was wrong, but someone else has got this figured out.
The coping is strong.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Yeah, wow. So now we're on this other side where Kurt continues his descent into being funnier and funnier throughout the night. And I love it. And on the side of it now, you're dealing with QAnons who either are still 100% cultists. They believe, and something's gone wrong, and Jim is in some deep state bunker being held against his will, and so on and so on and so on. There's 1,000 theories as to why what's happening is happening. They got to Trump. How did they get to Trump? How did they stop all this from happening? Those evil Democrats. I even read one last week where that's not actually Trump anymore. That's a replacement Trump.
I
saw that one too.
Yeah, and
you know what? I thought that was somebody making up something so ridiculous that that's actually their through line right now.
That's one of their ideas.
They're testing the waters.
Oh my god, this is the worst science fiction movie ever.
I mean, yeah. I did see Battlefield Earth in theaters.
So did I as a child. Actually, wow.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You were the two people. You were the two people who saw it live.
Hey, I had 3 friends with me.
This was around the time period where my dad was teaching me a lot of stuff about the Church of Scientology when I was a youth, and I don't even know what made him decide to go and actually see that piece of shit in theaters. Maybe it was just the fact that John Travolta was in it. I don't even know. I don't understand.
I mean, that's the only reason it got made.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh god, I like that shit that scarred my soul. That movie was so bad. I actually remember chunks of it just because of how bad it is, and I saw a lot of movies that I don't remember shit from back then.
Seriously, I gotta say, there's not a whole lot of movies that I saw 3 times ever, and I remember a lot of very unmemorable sound design.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't understand.
50-gallon oil drums just being hit over and over. That was the entire movie.
I watched that movie with an ex-Scientologist for the first time I saw it. Long into Chanology being kind of a thing of my past. I mean, we were 6 years into Chanology being a thing, and it was one of those moments where you're sitting there watching them cringe at what it seems they used to believe. And because this was someone who had gone relatively far up the chain. This was one of the few people to make it past OT5 in terms of how much money they gave. And now, of course, there were only a few OT7s, and only once, these are their levels. But they were hundreds of thousands of dollars in before they figured out the game and got out, and that's disturbing. But watching that movie with one of them was one of those moments that I will not forget, because something would be said in the film, and they would put that to documents they had read or been taught, after spending $20,000 to read this one page. And It was the craziest thing.
I mean, they also made the Atlas Shrugged trilogy, so, it's not isolated entirely.
No. The Scientologists love Ayn Rand for some reason.
I have a funny anecdote, actually. Back in 2004, it's a 2003 or 2004, one of those years. It was Talk Like a Pirate Day, and I'd met up with a whole bunch of goons from Something Awful. We all got smashed together, and we were downtown, and we decided, hey, let's go fuck around in the Church of Scientology. So we went in there, and they're just like, do you have any money?
Up front, do you want to buy a book? They test the waters.
Yeah, they test the waters. But and we're there. We've got maybe 10, 15 people, and I'm like, I don't know, can I try out the e-meter? So I'm holding onto the cylinders, and I'm changing my grip on them. I'm making the needle just go, and they're like, oh my god, your thetan levels are off the charts. I'm like, oh no, what do I do? I don't know. Maybe you can buy some of our materials there. I don't know. Perhaps we could do a big group watching. If you could perhaps give us one of your DVDs for free. We actually convinced the Scientologists to give us a free DVD. I still have it in my garage. I think it's the only instance I've ever heard of convincing the Scientologists to actually give you something for $0. So that was an accomplishment. Except for a flyer. Yeah. I promptly ripped the DVD and torrented it.
I've got so much so many strange artifacts from that entire fight that just are things I never thought in my life I would end up with. At one of the ex-Scientology meetups where I went with Tony Ortega, actually, the journalist, who's done a lot of work against them and worked for like the Village Voice and Raw Story and all these other places. He they had a contest for the day of, just stuff that was going on, and there were like 20 of us there, and I ended up winning, and they gave me a Mark III e-meter, and it's one of those briefcase ones that's this 70s blue plastic, and he's got these tin cans that are actually like little soup cans, like real ones though. I mean, they're soup cans, and then they've just got a shitty copper wire going to them that's even exposed on both ends. It's like no engineering here. And I've still got that briefcase, and I thought that was
just a continuity meter, for God's sake.
I thought that was gonna be the strangest thing that I ended up with from the Chanology raids, and then one of the highest-ranking Scientologists to leave the church, someone who was actually personal friends with L. Ron Hubbard, and way back, I mean, we're talking one of the big Scientologists, ended up passing away, and through their daughter, left me one of the original wooden e-meters that's only in a box about this big, and I have that in storage, and I have no idea why or what to ever do with it other than like keep it as a memento. But I don't want to like sell it, because when you put these things on eBay, the Scientologists all buy them back, and I don't want them to have it. So no matter how poor I get, that's just gonna stay in storage.
I mean, you could engrave on it first. Right.
I could.
They're not gonna be like anonymous rules, Scientology drools. Like, what the hell are they gonna do with that?
We could actually, on top of the wooden box, engrave a Guy Fawkes mask and then ship it to them.
Yes.
But they would just sand that down. I mean, like, I want to make sure they don't get it back.
Deep. You go get a router and just literally just punch holes right through it. Just make sure that thing can't be sanded out.
For every 420 channer watching this, if you don't clip Kurt, like just pointing at the camera saying "you go deep," you are a failure as a channer. Someone's got to get that. So that was amazing. But yeah, those two items.
Do you want to talk about Ron Watkins being a top security expert? Oh my God.
He's a security expert like Aaron Barr's a security expert.
I read a manual. And I misinterpreted what I'm reading for voting machines. Therefore, I'm one of the best security experts in the world. And check out my dapper hat.
Yes.
He's doubling down on the hat. I know I got to him. I absolutely had to. He's keeping that thing on. He's so self-conscious, He hates it when you point out that he is half Korean heritage. Did you know that?
Yeah, he is not a big fan of his actual makeup. He wants to be Norwegian or Norse or and he is not.
No, he is a half Korean, half American expat that lives in Japan with a Chinese wife.
And all of those are fine, just not in his own head.
No, exactly. Like it's completely fine, but he's very, very, very self-conscious about it, and it would be a real shame if anybody were to just try and reason with him about his heritage being okay. So don't do that. Whatever you do, be kind to Ron. He's just the best security expert in the world. You don't want to poke at him. He's got so much on his plate, posting all of those Q drops, collaborating with his dad's child pornography empire. He's got a lot on his plate.
He does. And, as I would say that, any good security expert out there will always want people to show them when they've made mistakes. So while I'm not saying anyone should do anything highly illegal, what I am saying is you should definitely help him understand where the various security vulnerabilities are in his systems so he can fix them.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, wait. I forgot. He quit 8kun. Right. No, he has nothing to do with those properties anymore. So when somebody else at Race Queen Incorporated and NT Technologies says that, no, actually Ron Watkins is still working on the servers, you should probably still believe Ron that he has nothing to do with it anymore and is completely excommunicated from his father, Jim Watkins' businesses, which is all just a gigantic load of bullshit.
Indeed. Yes, who is paying for that wonderful lifestyle he has over there in Japan? People might not realize, but an expat living in Japan is quite an expensive venture.
Yes, and he lives in a red light district. That's got to be expensive.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a thing for boutique watches, your Rolexes and the like.
And so, QAnons have been helping to pay the bill for his Rolexes for a while.
Yeah.
Thanks for that clip, Fear My Dark. That's perfect. That's what we were hoping for. So far, my channel has 2 clips, and they're both like that. We're gonna need to work on that one. Get a few more clips out there that are not that. That first one was horrible. But so we've been fucking with Q for a week. We've been watching their interesting infighting over whether that's really Trump, over whether the Q was real, was Q not real, and I gotta tell you, the best thing you can do as a human being right now is go anywhere they are and act as if you're one of them, and then question Q because Q got everything wrong. And the responses you will get are all over the spectrum of, I hate you for asking this question, you never believed in Q in the first place, or I kind of agree with you and I don't know where to go now. And I'm waiting for either someone to come and rescue them from this, in the most horrible sense of the word, with a new cult, because they will jump ship to a new cult if you prove, that your cult is better than that cult. And it's not hard with these idiots. So, keep your eye out and keep us all informed. If you find the next cult early, let us know.
Yeah, it's also worth pointing out that there's a lot of weird crossover of the cult of Q and the cult of Cicada 3301, which is another alternate reality game that kind of took on a life of its own, stemming from a 4chan post, as these things usually do.
Yes, they do. And that one I found interesting because the couple people who made it to the end of that map, if you will, that game, ended up on just a cheesy forum talking to people who decided, screw it, and disappeared on them. After all of that work, like if you read the stories of the few people who made it to the other side and actually had an interaction with another human being, it was, get on this forum, we're going to put you into these decentralized cells, and we're going to get some stuff done, and then they just kind of forgot the cells were there and walked away. Like, that's a lot of effort for whatever they got out of that.
Yeah.
Maybe they had a plan, but they had the bus problem and just weren't ready.
For all who don't know the bus problem, it is the last thing I actually said to Moot in person involved the bus problem. When I told him I would like his death to be by getting hit by a very fast-moving bus. That was the last thing I said to Chris in person. Since then, he hasn't wanted to talk to me. But... yeah.
There's some rumblings going around. I don't know if this is true or not, but there's some rumblings going around that Moot has recently departed Google. I'm not quite sure if I'm not sure if it's true or not, but if it is true, I really wonder what he's doing. And alternately, I wonder if he is literally sitting curled up in a corner of his bedroom staring at what's going on the internet now and crying. Because in his shoes, I would probably be doing that.
Yeah, he definitely helped build environments that got us here. We all...
I'm so sorry.
We all took part in what happened there, but, You know, that's another discussion for people like you, people like me, especially since you were more the hate machine side of things when I showed up. I joined in on some of that fun, but, you know, I wasn't there more than a year before we were already running off with, you know, our version of Anonymous and getting, you know, called out for it. But during that time period, you could see what was going on. And of course, at that point, even after I got, you know, run out of town for all my moral, you know, causes that I was using the name for, I still hung around just under other anonymous names, and I was still there on everything. And this environment was built up where, and I've explained this to people, where you had /poll on 4chan, right?
Yeah.
And people would go in there thinking it was hilarious to say very specific racist and Nazi type things. Not in the people who were saying
Hitler did nothing wrong.
Exactly. They would say that, and they wouldn't believe it. Like, you knew these people and they were just fucking with you. But they created an environment where that type of stuff was getting said. And so, no matter how wrong that was on its own, you can't say that's right even for them to have done it whether they believed it or not. It's definitely wrong. But they created an environment where a bunch of people who didn't actually think that way were saying it as sort of an in-joke to scare everyone away. You know, the idea was that if you got there and you saw all of that and you couldn't stand it and you left, well, you shouldn't have been there in the first place. But
Wormies, get out!
But what happened was, instead of that creating some kind of an environment where they could then be themselves, it created an environment where the only people who stuck around were the actual racists, the actual Nazis. And slowly the people who weren't, they left, and the Nazis and the racists took control of the board almost entirely.
Yes.
And you end up with this breeding ground, right?
Yeah, I kind of
You see
I
it
feel
that
like
way?
I have some level of partial responsibility for that,
I
because
wasn't
messing
going to call you
around
out for it, but yeah.
yeah, messing around with Hal Turner so directly in as many ways as we did, you kind of have a lot of threads that are still there on Stormfront and VNN forums and other neo-Nazi communities where they started realizing, hey, you know, these communities, they're a really good place to test your recruitment skills. Yeah. Whoops.
And
My bad.
We just end up with an environment years later where all the kids who survived the let's call it entrance exam to /poll and other boards turned out to be really bad people.
Yes.
And those environments did create mass shooters. They did create alt-right groups. A lot of things came out of those environments, and we all took part. And we all need to kind of own our pieces of that. So to that, you know, in that respect, I do believe, you know, what you're saying. Chris, Moot has to feel, you know, some level. I mean, if there's anything left human of that man, he has to feel it.
Yeah, and he probably hates my guts.
How do you feel about that? I mean, you probably don't care at this point.
Yeah, I don't. He has every reason to. Like last time I emailed him, talking back and forth, it was leading up to his post Gamergate retirement, and it was very cordial. Like, it seemed like he almost forgot or somehow never noticed that I was involved with what I was involved with. And now he's probably seeing all of this recent news and screaming into the sky. And he probably wishes he could take back the shout out he gave me on his retirement stream.
I mean, you know, the chat has said a few things here, and one of them was, you know, shutting down /poll on 420 was probably the best move, and I can agree with that. I don't know how you feel about that. I mean, you did it, but
totally. In the post Gamergate world, as you know, the rise of Trump and stuff. I think it was at the end of 2017. I publicly stated /poll has less than a year to live. Period. I don't even care. It's going. I'm letting you know. And to be fair, our politics board for the longest time, it was fairly left-leaning in general, but something that I have learned in my time as an image board administrator over the years is that containment boards don't fucking work. It is a lie. All a containment board does is allow a cancerous tumor to spread and grow and eventually completely take over the community outside of that containment zone. No, all you got to do is just tell them, hey, get the fuck out of here. You deplatform them. That's the only way. Any image board operator that is watching this, anybody in the game or wants to spin up yet another 8chan, 8kun, whatever the hell, 420chan, 4chan, if you want to get into this, never ever fall for the containment board fallacy. Don't do it. It doesn't work. It'll bite you in the ass sooner or later. I'm the only one that gets this.
Well, that's another interesting piece of this puzzle for me. You know, of the people who have run these types of websites, you still think these types of websites should exist. Like that,
Yes.
they're very technically old school, and that's the one thing I like about them. You know, they're very simplistic in their nature. Although I'm sure the back ends with the type of audience you have are not, but the front ends are very simplified compared to all the other types of media we can ingest. Have you ever thought about explaining a lot of that? That would be a very interesting article to read, how these things actually really work, what you have to go through to run one of these, because we see it from this side, right? And we see all the stuff that has gone down, like the gore backgrounds that were mentioned in the chat and stuff like that. Like, that's what we see being done to users. What happened to you as an admin?
So, I mean, back in the old heady days, before a lot of the frameworks for dealing with stuff like child abuse materials were built up,
like all the automated image detection stuff and all those other things that you can hit with APIs.
Yeah, exactly. So for anybody, I'm going to give this piece of advice. For anybody that is going to spin up an image board nowadays, something that I would probably put together would be a three-way identification system. So you're going to train machine learning models on three things: childlike face, naked body, and genitals. If you have 2 out of 3 hits, just automatically just block that content or send it into a moderation queue. Very good tip.
Are there any open databases for this?
There are. Actually, Cloudflare has recently added a CSAM filter. So any uploads that go through the Cloudflare proxy, you can go and tick it on. It should block a good amount of that content. I've already home built a lot of that technology on our side already, so I don't use that. I used to see it probably maybe once every few days back in 2007. Nowadays, maybe twice a year. So it works really well.
That leads into one of the other parts of the discussion that I think might be interesting in terms of like the current arguments about Section 230 and here in America, which really exists with a hope of allowing sites like Facebook, Twitter, and all these other big, user-generated content sites to exist because, their servers are where an illegal thing that might be posted exists now. And so Section 230 of our wonderful laws here, it keeps them from being liable as long as they are doing actual moderation. Now, one of the big problems going on in court and in Congress and everywhere else these days is what is the actual rule on how much moderation is allowed and all that fun stuff. And I run into this interesting argument where I find myself on a side that some of my friends hate. And I think some people in the chat might even hate this one too. And it's not that I'm happy about this state of affairs. It's that I don't see another way this works unless we just outright break up big tech, right? Which I'm not against outright breaking up big tech, but follow this one and then tell me where you would head with this, because here we have a piece of law that has a stated goal of allowing user-generated content to exist. So users are going to upload text, they're going to upload images, they're going to upload videos. You, as the website operator, don't want to be held liable if something they upload is illegal and you don't get to it fast enough. So fast enough is the big thing, right? Now that's not really defined in the law either. When you read what they say for moderation, it's like, well, as long as you're doing it. Well, doing what? But here's my big issue, and the thing where me and friends kind of fall on different sides of it. At the volume, Facebook has to moderate the amount of content that they have to moderate for the amount of things they have to moderate it for in the number of countries they have to moderate it for, and so on. Like, it becomes exponentially expensive to moderate at that level, and it doesn't return value. Like, that moderation, that team of people who are getting paid full-time jobs to moderate are not making you money. But they're not making you money. So you run into this weird setup where if you want that type of moderation to exist, that company better be making a hell of a lot of money to be able to afford it. Well, and how do you deal with that?
There is kind of a interesting thing there, because to my mind, and as a socialist, it's kind of weird to make this argument because it's premised from a capitalist environment.
Yes.
And so the idea is to, like, if something's worth having, then people have to be willing to pay for, like, all the cost of it. If you have to subsidize it, then, like, it's supposed to not be worth it, right? Well, if
used to be true.
Social media requires subsidies in some way in order for them to be able to, like, effectively moderate the content in a healthy fashion.
Or they could just go the volunteer route. I mean, I'm very well acquainted with that one. You know?
Sure, but you run into the volunteer route.
I mean, obviously, the capitalism solution is volunteered slavery. But
PTSD will get you out of the game quickly in those environments.
Exactly. There's a limited life.
There's high turnover for that job.
Yeah, even with pay, the turnover rate is already high. It doesn't change whether or not you're getting paid for the job. You're still dealing with the content.
You can't like continue to do that forever. It's gonna mess with your head. Money doesn't change that. Money just deals with changes whether you have the resources to, like, deal with some of it.
Yeah, it's like, okay, I'm getting paid to do stuff that is really messing up my head. I'm gonna go pay the money that they're paying me for a therapist.
Well, they're like winning a bet involving a round of Russian roulette.
Yep.
Yeah. So, there we are with this fight on 230. Now, for you, obviously, 230 is an important piece of legislation because you run an image board.
I'm Canadian.
I understand that, but that does not stop people in America from suing you in England, if you know what I mean. Like, these people are all stupid. You're still going to have these issues where people in Congress don't understand I'm Canadian is supposed to protect you from U.S. law. They don't care about that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, actually, in Canada, there is no quote-unquote freedom of speech, and stuff that is determined as hate speech, there are no legal protections for it. In fact, there have been politicians that have campaigned in the last handful of years, and they've used anti-Jew or anti-Black rhetoric in their campaign, and they have been charged and prosecuted for those talking points. Yeah, for the hate speech. So as far as that's concerned, that's always a really good go-to. Like, and whenever people are like, "Oh, why are you censoring me? You people are just leftist snowflakes." I'm like, actually, I have to, by law, get rid of that bullshit. Yeah. It's helpful, but also, yeah, this is a gigantic mess in the making. All of these laws, these legislations that basically form the framework for how the modern internet works, they were written in the 80s, in the 90s. There's been amendments here and there. There's been little modifications as technology progresses and outgrows them. But realistically, we have to start from the ground floor. Like, we just need to get rid of what's there and build things up for a current time period, because technology is just progressing faster and faster and faster and faster, and the laws and legislation cannot keep up.
I 100% agree, and also fear that with all that I am in terms of how partisan our current legal systems are and our current lawmakers are, I don't believe that our current laws, like the CFAA or anything else related to computer enforcement, is even remotely close to covering what's currently going on in the world. I mean, the CFAA was a response to war games in the 80s when Republicans got scared about what it entailed. And it hasn't been updated in any meaningful way since. It literally still, is basically talking about people war dialing with a modem way back then on old phone lines. But
which they didn't understand when they were writing the law, but coincidentally got like way closer than any subsequent revision.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, in the show he uses in the movie he uses an early version of Tone Loc, and that was a tool I was using. Like, I mean, the reality of war games, other than actually getting into like that system specifically and having an AI smart enough to talk to him, like as Joshua, like that part's not reality. But like the tools he was using and the way he was actually hacking and the backdoors he was looking for, I'm still to this day surprised at how right they got that in a movie that long ago. Because today, all I see is 3D virtual worlds where people fly through Gibsons, except for like Mr. Robot. But, it shows like that. A few of us actually had a hand in making damn sure it didn't do that. It's hard. But, we were talking about the laws, right?
Yeah.
And you brought up the idea that all these laws and all these rules, everything from 230 all the way to how you get prosecuted for, say, what is bypassing authentication and security, they need to be rewritten for today's modern internet.
Yes.
Who would be rewriting those right now, though? I don't want any of that. None of that can be rewritten while someone like McConnell's in charge, right? Like, please, don't do that.
Just overthrow the government. Easy answer.
Says the Canadian. I mean, come on.
I'm just a foreign state actor. It's
Are you
fine.
going to come down here and do it with us? Because, at that point, it might be necessary.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, literally, America is just on a map. I go across a lake, and I'm in America. So, whatever affects you, I'm really close to that crap.
Well, you're all super doxed up and down the border. Everyone knows where you live. You're right there on the border in Toronto. And, right, so, so the funny thing about Toronto for me is always when people talk about Toronto and then saying they're Canadian, is I say, Toronto is as much Canadian as New York is. Like, I mean, it is, I've been there, and it just feels like I'm in an American city. It does not feel like I'm in any of the Canadian cities I've been to.
Here's a little funny thing, as an aside. The way that you said Toronto,
yeah,
that is how you can tell somebody that's a Toronto native and who isn't. If you do a hard T, Toronto, you ain't from here.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you pronounce it properly?
Toronto.
You sound like all those people from New Orleans who say Nolans.
Chicago.
Oh, come on.
So on and so forth. The second T, it's silent. Just trust me on that one.
Yeah. So, okay, so everything needs to be rewritten if we're going to cover all of these fun crimes of the day that, might or might not be crimes. And
my only crime is that of curiosity.
Indeed. What a wonderful line. I think all of us on this side have read that before.
Mm-hmm.
I was on BBS's when that was going around, when that was getting posted as text before the internet was a thing we could connect to anyways. And I was on FidoNet and all the other early kind of networks of BBSs who were communicating with each other too. And when that started to really catch fire in the scene there, it was that revelatory moment of not only did you have two people local to you who went to the 2600 meetings who you actually kind of agreed with, you had people all over the world who were like you. We're talking about the Hacker Manifesto, of course. It's an amazing piece of writing. Most people who know it these days know it from the movie Hackers, as it's read by the two feds sitting in a car, and one of them admonishing the other for liking it.
It's commie bullshit.
Right? For everyone wondering about my wonderful non-alcohol drinking self, this is now lemonade because my voice needs that.
Thanks for the cue.
Oh, you can't say
That is
Q
also
anymore.
lemonade.
The bad guys have almost stolen a letter from us now. Like when you said Q there, I was triggered. They've almost taken a letter of the alphabet from us. Oh my god!
I mean, realistically, we took the A away. We're anarchists.
Yeah.
So I mean, you gotta give them a little bit.
Yeah. But now we have to destroy them.
Yes.
Right.
I mean, now it's just like
this is on John Delancey. He got to do something about this shit.
right.
Oh man, yeah. Actually, like John Delancey has been dunking on QAnon, and it's been pretty glorious.
Hilarious.
Right?
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
So what's coming up next with this? There's the fight against Q. There's the fight against the next good old Million MAGA March that's coming, and we're having fun toying with them. There's all of this fun with new people. Like, I was not that aware of Pat King. I've heard of him before the Million MAGA March, but I hadn't really paid much attention to his existence until he did what he did last weekend. Now he's on the radar. Now who is this guy and where is he getting paid from? Not in the George Soros way, because our side doesn't. Everyone on our side who does this type of stuff that I know is poor as hell. But he's down there talking about taking everyone out to breakfast on the company dime and stuff. And like, what company?
Where is this money coming from? What the?
The Heartland Foundation, the former Koch brothers trust fund stuff. It's
the Scaife Family Foundation,
the Mercers, like,
yeah.
Oh my God! While we have this fake Soros money, they have like 60 real foundations who are giving them money.
It's even funnier because like George Soros's actual thing is like, I was raised in a country that allied with and was under the thumb of the Nazis. I'm really against authoritarian government. I don't really care. I just don't want authoritarian government.
Yeah.
Like, that's his only thing. And they've spun that to the literal exact opposite.
I'm still waiting. I'm waiting on 13 plus years of back checks here, Soros.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Same thing for you, CIA. I want my fucking back pay.
Yeah, this chat is great. I love you guys. The thing that's next though for you, I mean, it's obviously keeping up fighting the QAnons. Obviously, I mean that's going to be until they're destroyed utterly,
completely.
There
just
are
eradicated, gone.
What's next on that? What are you working on that you can talk about? Because I know a lot of the stuff that can't be talked about, but what can you talk about?
Making fools out of the far right, in general.
In general.
Yeah, for as well funded and resourced as they are, they're really, really fucking bad at everything they do. So realistically, I mean, come on, you got some money, help us out, please, for the love of God, we're so hungry.
So one of the things that I would like to see, and this is a weird way to kind of approach this, but I would love to see you and your let's call it types, your fans, your users go after is something that, strange enough, someone who a lot of your users used to really hate and probably still do, which was Barrett Brown, but he used to do, which is just call the enemy and record every bit of it and then post it on the internet. And, a surprising thing has happened over the last decade. If you can name someone who runs one of those right-wing groups, I probably have their cell phone number and they pick up if I call. So, I would like to hand people these phone numbers and say, could you deal with these people? Like, could you call them? So, you might be getting a private message with some fun phone numbers to talk to here soon.
Noted. Also, another thing I would like to say, if you know of any QAnon or QAnon adjacent talk shows or Twitch streams, so on and so forth, and they have call-in segments, I would absolutely love it if you just let me know so that I can do a little bit of community outreach. Please and thank you.
Yes. And where do they reach out to you for that?
They reach out to me on Twitter at Kirtaner, or just search for...
Can you pronounce that for me?
Kirtaner.
Because he is not a container.
I'm not Tupperware.
As I now understand. And luckily it stuck. The last week I have actually been saying it correctly finally.
Good. It's
you
good
know,
to know.
a couple media outlets have reached out and they've actually even pronounced it wrong and I've corrected them. As you've been talking to random people, like every fact checker that fact checks this type of stuff knows to at least double check things with like a group of like 20 people, and so when I get those calls, I'm like, no, that one's right. Never heard of that guy, and then I go look him up, and it's like, nope, that's just some wacko emailing you. But you know, it's been quite hilarious. I've been telling people, just go reach out to this guy if you really you can talk to Frederick, you can talk to Greg, they know. We've also been through this long enough. It's good to know that they've been reaching out to you. Yes, and we've also been through this enough to know what they're gonna ask, what they want to hear, what they want to know. Like the first time I talked to one of these people trying to write an article about Anonymous, I was giving them like half-hour answers because like they'd ask open-ended questions. Now I've done it enough that I know you want to know this one sentence. I'm gonna just say this one sentence to you. There you go. You're good. Make their life easier. They know to call me back next time because I didn't jerk them around for an hour. So it helps a lot. So people can reach out to you at Kirtaner, Kirtanar, and that'll be in the notes and the YouTube links and all that fun stuff. But what you want them to, you caught that, chat. What you want them to do is any right-wing shows that are far enough right that they are about Q, that are along those lines, that are heading off in that really far right, just conspiracy space, get you on them to talk. And that where we goat see one, we goat see all. You know, what a website. One thing that I think chat will find funny that most people don't know about that website, and the college definitely doesn't want me to say, is that website for its first year and a half or so was hosted at CMU in the knock. Right in the knock, like literally like it was, and it had been there for like 6 months or so before it started to actually be spread around. Like someone saw it and it went around all the instant messaging and then on IRC and everywhere else. And then suddenly a spike happened, and the admin who I was friends with on EFNet way back then comes on and says, so my boss has just said my server has to leave because they saw what was on it. And luckily he got to keep his job. But yeah, that server was at just a standard, just freaking CMU's knock.
I mean, I guess it could handle as much traffic as you want to throw at it.
Oh yeah.
It's just a website with a single image on it. You know, it's not like there was a lot there to host.
This was the mid-90s when it first went up.
Backbone, you know.
Yeah.
That was the same server that did the first. You hit a PHP file and then it would pop up a new window, and they were all playing a WAV file. That was on that server as well, both at CMU.
Wow, wait. So you're saying Last Measure was hosted there as well?
At CMU. What a college.
Wow.
Right?
Man, they know how to party.
I'm just saying, exactly, right? Like that, if you're young and you're thinking about going to a college, go to one with some internet history.
Funny thing about Last Measure that I'm not sure a lot of people know. So Last Measure, it worked best on Mac OS. You know, if you were on regular PC, you know, you get all the pop-up windows and stuff. But if you were on a Mac and you open up Last Measure, all of a sudden you've got like 100 terminal windows and all kinds of stuff just spawning left and right. It was quite the show.
There were moments on PC where you could get Task Manager up fast enough and get the thing killed. There was no saving your ass if you were on Mac OS. The second like you hit enter on that URL or clicked that link, you were already turning your computer off by holding the button down.
Yep.
Like there was no way back. Oh, yes. Good times. And now we need new laws that will describe all of the fun stuff on the internet.
Yes. I can't wait for the shock image legislature.
Right?
It'll be great. It'll be written by someone that has no idea how any of that works.
Oh, like the last one.
So what you have to do is you need to demonstrate it to them.
they need a very visceral understanding.
Oh my god.
So we're
look,
at the
it's a
House of
fork bomb.
Commons, and we're discussing on this new legislator. Let's see, Figure 1A, Goatsy.
I would like to remind everyone in the chat: do not copy and paste that wonderful string of symbols into a terminal if you like yourself.
Hey, a fork bomb!
I
Nice.
know, right? Oh my God, fork bombs! Those were fun.
420 Chan co-founder Tino. I was really wasted one day, and he actually tricked me into doing that exact fork bomb, and it probably took me about 6 months to forgive him. I was in a vulnerable state. That son of a bitch.
Oh my God. So, another thing I wanted to bring up that I find funny lately, or honestly, actually, no, I find sad lately. We used to, when exploits came out a long time ago, as the new kind of becomes old again and the old kind of becomes new again, we have this new exploit from this year on DNS that allowed you to cache poison again. And you could, change where an IP would actually send you, what web server it would send you to, or what any server it would send you to. It would just give you the wrong address when you typed in a name. But it got named DNS SAD, DNS SAD. And the names these days all are like these horrible puns. For people who don't know, DNS cache poisoning has been around a lot longer than this little thing. Although most of the earlier stuff was patched a long time ago. But for all of our friends here in the chat, if you want to look up like the old school like DNS poisoning attacks, in the mid-90s we had jizz.c, Jizz.c. That was the first real kind of widespread one. And then that got patched quickly because it was way overused. And then we got Jizz2.c, which again got patched in only a few weeks. It was a lot of fun though. And then Jizz was replaced with Erect.c. And in all of them, they had nice descriptions of what they were doing here, written up by people who just know rhyme and verse really well, because they were descriptive in a way that only 4chaners, I think, will truly, like 420 channers and whatnot, will truly actually love. And now we have all these corporate-sounding exploit names that are just like someone in a think tank came up with that to get the most clicks. Like
Heartbleed.
Right? Like, come on. I mean, Heartbleed has nothing on Erect.c. I'm sorry.
Stage fright. Like, come on. This is so boring.
The most fun I ever had playing around with an exploit was with Erect, especially because they had figured out how to cache poison in a way where you could pass special characters into the resolution. And so you were passing special packed characters that would then get unpacked by the DNS resolver and then stored. So we all joined EFNet on one day when Erect.c was finalized by the guy who wrote it. He was in one of the channels we were in, and he said, everyone do this. And we all joined a bunch of large IRC channels, chat channels, where our host name resolved to ****. And they all had bots in them who would ban you for various things. And so we did those things, and then all these bots in these giant channels banned ****, and everyone gets kicked from the channels and they get locked down. It was the most fun I ever had playing with a new exploit in my life.
Oh my god, that sounds incredible.
When DNS SAD came out, it just reminded me of those days of going into like Pound Texas on EFNet with **** as my host name, and them just going nuts because there were actual EFNet oppers in that channel too, and so they'd start screaming "No!" as it happened. And servers would have to disconnect from other servers to clear the poisoning out and reboot and dump their caches and everything.
Oh my god. Apparently I have kicked my network switch and knocked the power out. I think I mentioned this the last time on the last show that was a possibility.
Still here.
I'm still here because it hopped over to Wi-Fi, but everything else is shitting itself. So give me a second.
I gotta say, for everyone watching this, that was the cleanest crossover from network to Wi-Fi I've ever seen. I think he might have just been accidentally on Wi-Fi the whole time. And there you are.
I'm gonna blame the cats.
Blame the cats. Ah, yes, that's QAnon attacking you, obviously.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
My cats are QAnoners, and I'm gonna have to put together a deprogramming program for them.
You know, if I had any idea, good old microphone assassin there, how to get rid of regrets, I would not have so many regrets in my life. Boy, do I have a lot of them. Oh my god.
Most of my regrets involve hacking, so good
Yeah,
luck with that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's how do I murder my way out of feeling bad about this murder? You don't. That's not how this works.
You just keep doing it more and more and more until you feel completely and utterly dead inside.
Look, eventually, the regret per murder approaches like
It's a negative slope.
Yeah.
It is a negative slope. You know, this is.
And then 10 years later, you start thinking about it, and the shakes come, and then you're like, "Oh, the only way I can get rid of these shakes is by starting it up again." Oh fuck! What am I doing?
So, chat, you guys have been really active tonight. Do you have anything you actually want us to talk about? At this point, we're kind of past a lot of the stuff we had planned to bring up, and by planned, I meant talked about for like 5 seconds earlier today. Our level of planning. You know, what do you want to hear from good old guest Kurt here? Is Hal Turner still alive?
Okay, yeah, Hal Turner is still very much alive. The last time that I encountered Hal Turner was I have screenshots of the tweet because he was banned from Twitter probably a few years afterwards. But the last experience that I had with Hal Turner was in 2016. I noticed he had a Twitter account, and I'm like, oh, hey, everybody, check it out. Hal Turner is on Twitter. What's up, homie? How you doing? And his response was, Kirtaner? Hey, dude! Multiple explanation points. It's like, wow, somebody's still completely and utterly fucking terrified of me.
Right.
Yeah, so he's still around. He's apparently, his show still exists after he was arrested, after basically making a gigantic joke of himself for being the worst FBI informant on the planet. He went to jail, he got out, and was quiet for a number of years, and now he is basically a knockoff Alex Jones, pushing stuff like these 5G wireless modems have COVID engraved on them, so therefore COVID came from 5G. Like that level of complete and utter absurdity, pushing a lot of QAnon theories and stuff. Actually, you know what? Come to think of it, I should probably give him a ring, see how he's doing.
Yeah, that sounds like a place that there might be a few QAnons, paying attention.
Yeah, because it's very clear that he's been completely and utterly excommunicated from the white nationalist community. So obviously he's got to change tack somewhere.
You know, I mean, he can just do the same thing that Alex Jones is doing and push a bunch of various health products to his
filters.
Yeah, buy all that fun stuff. I would like to say, since I don't do this enough and I don't know what I'm doing streaming, subscribe and like and follow and all those other things that other streamers say. Do all that, people.
If you have Twitch Prime, you have a free subscription. You should do the thing. Hit the button.
Yeah, for people who don't know,
it's like stealing money from Amazon.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Give all of Jeff Bezos' money to us, please. just.
If you have an Amazon Prime account and you go to subscribe to my channel, it will be free if you use the Twitch Prime thing, but the money will actually come out of Amazon's pockets, and that's hilarious. So by all means, anyone with a Prime who wants to hook it up, please do. And look at that. There it is. Wow. So that's why everyone says this during their streams. It seems to work. That's crazy.
Indeed.
All right, so Hal Turner. So Hal Turner's still alive. Thanks, Dixie. Fear My Dark says, did Kurt see my Google dorking question earlier?
No, I did not.
Let's see. Where is that fun? I do not see it scrolling up. Can you repost that one for us? Yeah, there you go. You want to read it for the audience?
What do you think of all of those hacked webcams available through Google dorking? And what might be the reason of Google not taking them down, since they're easily accessible to basically anyone? Okay, so that comes down to Google indexes, like, there's not a human being involved with indexing shit on Google. So
Bunch of bots.
when they're based, it's all bot driven and stuff. The only way that Google becomes aware of content that probably shouldn't be there is if the proprietor of that content is the one to go and say, hey, Google, please de-index this. Like, you have to actually go, like, there's a form and an actual official way of doing it. If there wasn't, there would probably be a lot of anarchy online of people going and forcefully de-indexing content just because they got into an argument, or, you know, for the lulz, so on and so forth.
Which has happened in the past, but they've since solved that problem.
Yeah. So the only way that Google will actually go and deal with that sort of scenario is if you are the subject involved with that. So say you have an Encyclopedia Dramatica page about you and they won't take it down. You go and you contact Google and they de-index the page. Thank you, Google.
Indeed.
So realistically, it's a complex thing. Like, IP addresses for a lot of home internet connection users, they're not dynamic. They're changing anywhere from a week to a month, so on and so forth. So when they end up getting indexed because they get picked up by services like Shodan, and from there, Google is going to crawl Shodan, and Google is going to crawl the URLs that is being picked up by Shodan, and then it ends up in Google's search indexing. It's a multi-step process. That's how they end up on Google. So pretty much, like, it's an unsolvable problem, unfortunately. Realistically, the only way to solve it is by network security. Firewall your fucking shit.
And for that, you know, I will say that if you want to learn all the fun network security stuff, you and your AMA brought up a free CTF course that's amazing.
Yes.
And everyone should go look at that. It's linked. The guy who wrote the course itself and designed it all is there and talks about it. And he's realistic, which is my favorite part. People asked this person, well, how long is it going to take me to get a job? And he was like, 5 years. And he wasn't lying to them, like, oh yeah, take my course and next week you get a job. No, he was very clear about how long it takes to get that good with this stuff. Or at least as good as he would hire.
He was also completely and utterly terrified that, like, he was like, where are all these people coming from? And then he saw who posted it, and he's like, apparently this person was around back in the day, very much knew who I was and what I did, and was like, I went and I checked all my configuration and made sure fail to ban was working, and I am not playing around with former internet hate machine folks. I don't give a shit how reformed you are.
Right. Thanks for the gifted sub there. Good old Zorb Avenger is now subbed. I love it. You brought up Shodan in response to Fear My Dark's question, which wasn't a dumb question, by the way. I mean, that's just it. A lot of this stuff is so behind the scenes and so automated that you just don't know how it works. Shodan itself is a search engine in a way, but it's more a series of crawling bots that check out every IP address it sees in the world to find out what's running on that and what version of software is running. Like, if it's port,
and what vulnerabilities are there.
If it's port 80, well, that's where web servers, or port 443 if it's SSL, but that's where web servers are. What is running on there? Is it Apache? Is it Nginx? What version? Are there exploits? Let's look. And so Shodan is this search engine where you can go to it and you can start to find every webcam that's made by this one manufacturer, and here's all their IP addresses. And
or every voting machine that has a telnet server just there exposed on the internet.
Yes, never happens. Never happens.
Yeah, never happens. By the way, there's a Git repository that basically has a document. I was like, it's something like most fun Shodan search queries. Like, you can find oil tankers, you can find gas stations, voting machines, all kind of stuff. It's like literally just a click away. Security is a goddamn nightmare.
You can find teapots on Shodan because there's an actual response in the HTTP design.
HTTP CPTP. Yeah, I think that's the
421.
RFC.
I think it is.
Yes.
Yeah. Error code 421. Response code there. Yeah. So you can find teapots supposedly on Shodan. So if you ever want to just go randomly finding things, the fun way to use Shodan is first just kind of look through what other people are searching for on there, which is not hard to see the way their interface works, and then go find the manufacturer, because sometimes it'll say in the response to, I'm connecting to this port, I'm this manufacturer. Then just go to that manufacturer's website and pull down the user manuals. Most of the user manuals have your default password, and then try and log in. I mean, I'm not telling you to do it. I'm just saying if someone
theoretically
were
within a
that's the way you use that tool.
Ethical environment.
Yes, of course.
Yes, exactly. You set up your own lab, and then you go to Shodan, and you hit your own lab environment through Shodan, and so on and so forth.
And now, A.K.A. Kuhn there in the chat brought up a very interesting point, which has been tested a couple times and gotten wildly different results in court. The CFAA has this kind of trigger, and it is you have to have broken through some form of authentication in order for then you violated the CFA to actually be a thing.
That's correct.
Supposedly, that's the trigger. However, some judges have seen to ignore that. But given that trigger, you then have a description of what really breaking means. How do you violate someone's authentication? Well, in certain courts in America, we've had it come down that that very specifically you have to have done some extra work to break through that. And it can't just be that you knew a default password from a manufacturer, because that's not at that point your fault in the law's eyes.
No,
that's the guy who didn't change the default password's fault.
I mean, sometimes you find a folder that has indexing available, and you pull a log from that folder, and that log happens to have some stack traces in them that happen to have some credentials inside the stack trace, and from there, I mean, like you're just double checking. I mean, you're doing them a favor at that point.
And for more on that, tune in next Friday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and that's a load of fun. But so what's been interesting to me with the CFEA stuff is, that trigger of did you bypass authentication or not, has gone in 10 different directions in court. A couple times the judge has been intelligent enough to look at it and say, there was a default password that was never changed, and the first step in the manual for this hardware said change it, and you didn't. So that person who logged in didn't violate anything. This is your fault. And it's like the whole, the guy, there's been multiple court cases where someone took something out of someone else's house, but the front door wasn't just unlocked, it was open, and the person had left, and someone walked in and took something, and they've gotten off. And I think, I personally prefer the law to be written that way. Like, at the very least, you need to lock your doors. So, I'm not entirely against the idea of playing around with default passwords on a fun Friday night.
Yeah, exactly. And
however, I am not recommending anyone do it.
Yeah, no. Just err on the side of caution. Don't walk into somebody's house and take their 72-inch TV. I mean,
right.
Probably going to have a bad time. I see people in the chat bringing up Weave's AT&T case. Now, the big thing there, the only reason why it was so prosecuted so heavily is because he embarrassed high-ranking military officers. It's how powerful the person that you pissed off actually is, how much money and resources that they have to go and make an example of you. Realistically, it is what it is.
That's the legal system here in America. Although it's the legal system in a bunch of other supposed first world countries, I say supposed at this point because we've all seen the food lines. But yeah, so again, that's fun stuff. I would say that if you're going to play around with that stuff, get your security right. Do not just open this up on your home desktop under your profile that you type all your other personal information into. I mean, for me, I go a big step further. Like, the keyboard that anything I'm doing on that I might not want anyone to know about, even if it's not illegal, I just don't want them to know about. The keyboard itself has never even had my real information typed into it, like, let alone the computer. And it's not in my house, and it's not connected to my Wi-Fi, and its MAC address randomizes, like, a million things before I ever do anything I don't want traced.
Okay, so put a GPS tracker on your car. Gotcha.
Exactly. Like, yes. I mean, one of the funniest and sad moments, just to kind of describe this to people, that I ever saw in a hacking case was out of out of New Jersey where a kid was caught for doing some scamming online that ended up being identity theft and whatnot because he wasn't protecting the MAC address of the machine he was on. And this is how deep it got. Like, someone hired a real consultant on the other side for once. So he had defrauded a bunch of people and stolen some identities. And I'll link to the case in the description on YouTube. I'll go find the guy's name again. But what was interesting about it is he had gotten away with it online. Like, no one knew who he was. They didn't have much data. But they had, what is said right there, good old MITMing in the chat, they had on his on one of the networks he'd gone through, there was a man-in-the-middle proxy going for ad-serving purposes, but it had captured packets. They were actually doing like stateful packet capturing for all their stupid shit. I mean, it was like, first off, what are you doing? Thanks for logging all of my passwords, I guess. I don't know. You know, I'm not using your network. But they had in those packets, they had the MAC address of his network card. And so they went to the manufacturer, which the first few digits of the MAC address tell you who manufactured it. Then the next few tell you which lot it was manufactured in, and so on, right? And the manufacturer said, well, that was made in this factory in this country, and it was shipped to this business. Then they go to that business, which was Best Buy, and they said, you got this shipment on this date from this manufacturer. Where did that go? And they look through all their databases and find that that block of laptops actually went to this one Best Buy. And then they look up their receipt systems in their CMS system there, and they find that it was sold on this day at this time. They go to the Best Buy and they pull up the security cameras of the register, and they watch the person buy it with his face and everything. And it took them about a week longer to tie that to someone else in a different case they already knew of. And that was strong enough to hold up to pin the case on him. So randomize your MAC addresses, please. And don't just do it with some kind of patch to your current OS. Run an OS that was designed to do this literally as it bootstraps its kernel. Run cubes. Run, I don't care. There's 20 of these. Run one of them.
You can have a virtual machine that is handling all of your, like, you can run pfSense or some other actual routing platform. Like, there are many ways to go about keeping your ass out of prison, and realistically, you should use all of them.
Everything you possibly can. That story always just blew my mind, and I'll find the guy's name again because it's been a while. That was like 10 years ago, so I don't remember his name, but I'll link to it in the YouTube. I'll go find it. But yeah, that's how crazy it gets out there. So when we're joking about things like Shodan and everything else, and I'm saying don't do it, I'm mostly saying don't play around with that stuff, because I would hope that all of you don't end up in prison, because the steps you have to take to not get caught these days are a lot more than they were 20 years ago.
Yes, they are.
You know, we used to have this situation where a lot of these tools, like back in the early 90s, were not democratized yet. You know, in like 1991, when you wanted to learn like any real hacking skills outside of a couple books on programming you could get, you had to meet up with locals. You had to find BBSs that had this material, and you had to go through a chain of command almost on the local level where there were the real hackers hiding somewhere in some basement, but you weren't going to run into them until everyone had known you for 2 years, and they weren't actually showing up at the 2600 meetings either, like, you know, and then you start learning the real stuff. And it was complicated to get good, and there weren't many public tools at that point either. In terms of now, you can learn half of this on YouTube.
YouTube, the combination of YouTube and GitHub. If you ever want to look for POCs of various exploits, just go to GitHub and search for the CVE. You'll find a lot.
It is the craziest thing, but so now with it being so democratized, I like to make it very clear that while back then maybe it was a lot harder for them to trace, it is so democratized at this point that there are actual people with your skill sets that have decided to work for who I consider the bad guys, and they will track you down for them, and they are horrible people. Personal opinion, but that's just where I am on that.
Realistically, all of this entire game, it's a cat and mouse thing, and also we just want to see everybody step it up.
Indeed, indeed. So we're almost at 2 hours here. Does anyone in the chat have anything else they want us to talk about? I mean, there's the obvious fun stuff that you've brought up 1,000 times this thread and 1,000 times last thread. Last time I got him to talk about it. This time he hasn't really brought it up yet. And So how does one goatsy? Obviously.
You take one hand, you take the other hand, you reach back, you grip, you pull. Okay, that's how you.
And I'm gonna
ring. If you don't have.
I was about to talk about OPSEC. Take the ring off so you don't get tracked down. Because for people who don't know, that man was found based on the ring he was wearing.
Mm-hmm. It did some impressive detective work there.
Holy crap.
If we're going to talk about photography-based OPSEC, another thing to consider too is that if you're taking a photo and you're holding something, make sure that your fingerprints are not visible within that photo frame. On top of that, you also probably want to go and give your lens a wipe down. Anytime you're going to take a photo, wipe down your lens. Make sure it is shiny and completely perfect, and keep your fingers, if you're holding something, just try to keep your fingers out of it as much as possible, because people have been busted on both of those levels. There have been cases where there was a fingerprint on the lens and they were able to track the person down. And then there's cases where they literally took the photograph and they zoomed in and took a fingerprint from the photograph. These are very recent cases, and technology is getting better all the time. And I don't care what illegal stuff you're doing. I'm trying to keep your ass out of prison.
Yeah, my photo editing tools at this point have an enhance button that does stupid shit that it couldn't have done 20 years ago. So if I've got crap like that, and of course it's not CSI level, that's never coming. But still, just if I've got tools that can do all of what he just said sitting on my machine for under $100, imagine what people with budgets have. It's disturbing.
Something to consider too. I've recently discovered that if you're uploading a video to Discord from your phone, normally they scrub the metadata from your photographs. But if you're uploading a video onto Discord, they actually have had a oversight where they don't scrub the metadata. This was brought to my attention very recently. Discord, if you see this, you need to fucking fix that. And also, if you're uploading content to Discord, you probably want to pull it off of your phone and go and scrub the metadata yourself. Always better safe than sorry. GPS coordinates, etc. All of that can be in these videos. So keep safe.
Good times. So the fight continues with QAnon. The struggle is real there, because no matter what you really say to them, they're just too stupid to ever actually understand. No matter how many times I get told to stop calling them stupid and start treating them like a real enemy, I'm not going to. They're idiots.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm loving this Friday thing. We're having a lot of fun just talking stuff out. Chat is great. We should probably come back next Friday and talk about a lot more fun that I've been witnessing for the last few days that isn't ready for public consumption yet.
Yes, well, we will see.
Much like cum dogs.
Consume the cum dogs for Satan. Some of it might be ready for next week. Some of it might not be. There's a lot going on, and some of it is stuff that you need to handle. You need to go dot your I's, cross your T's, and handle disclosure properly. Because at the end of the day, you got to be responsible depending on what you stumble into.
Yes, there are certain people who could get hurt by your actions that don't deserve it sometimes, and then there's the deserving, and you've got to make sure your targeting works. Yes.
Yes. No, I'm not going to smoke pot and jack off tonight. You've been asking this whole goddamn show.
He says that. I don't know if we can believe it. All right. So I'm loving that. If anyone doesn't have anything else, or if you are kind of feeling it, I think we're close to done here, unless we got some more. Oh, NetJester questions, of course.
Okay, so NetJester, one thing, a little pet project that I have in the pipe is getting him onto the GPT-2 or just general machine learning track. Because right now, NetJester is primarily a Markov chain driven chatbot, and that's kind of long in the tooth. He's pretty funny, but if we can get a machine learning model that has absorbed every single bit of knowledge from the 420 chain user base and turn that into a full-fledged real AI, I think we're going to see some serious shit. So I have.
I mean,
That sounds right.
that sounds scary.
Yeah, don't it? And NetJester itself, like that is a Markov chain bot that is close to a decade old at this point. His brain database has reached close to 20
Machine
gigabytes.
learning, deep learning, and all the other fun stuff have gone way past that. Now, I will say that anyone watching this who might have access, please do share, because GPT-2 is great, but GPT-3 is stupid amazing. I got an API access to it to play around a little a couple months ago, and it was a limited account, but I was able to give it like 2 sentences and have it give me back like 6 paragraphs that sounded like a human wrote it. I mean, it needed like 5 minutes of editing, and I could have posted it.
They can write applications for you, for God's sake. Like
crazy.
software engineering is, as it stands, like there's going to be 2 tracks. There's going to be InfoSec and there's going to be AI, and absolutely everything else is going to be obsolete. That is realistically where we're heading.
What I'm learning from where Kurt is actually going here is in a few weeks we're going to have a GPT-3 based Kurt bot that studied everything that he's done, and then he's also going to use all these fun tools for deep learning your face, so he can make a deep fake of himself, and then this chat right here will be just me talking to a bot at some point in the future.
Reinforcing algorithms for AI means that if there were an AI version of me, that probably there would be nuclear war within 2 weeks.
I just fear that it will be way smarter than me, as you know, as I fear everything computerized is. That is gonna be fun.
Security. So. I mean, AI-driven attack suites. I mean, we're gonna have stuff that's literally just gonna be like, I want you to go and hack this server site, and it's just gonna do it for you in like 30 seconds, and that's a horrifying future.
You know, the chat just brought something up that we should probably have some fun with next week. Let's actually have a NetJester interview next week. Yes,
NetJester actually has a audio-visual component that I put together. There is a Twitch bot that I was really bored at work and I hated the fucking job. So I would just go and do what they wanted me to do in probably about an hour and spend 7 hours a day dicking around. If anybody hires me in the future, I promise I won't do that at your company.
Just do one off.
Yeah. NetJester, he can respond to Twitch chat. He can speak at you. So I don't know. Maybe we can have a little NetJester interview, and he'll tell you about I don't know, Vince McMahon going and eating cum dogs. Who knows?
That sounds like something Vince McMahon would do. I mean, he'll do anything for a view.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. What else do we have going on, Chad? Anything else you want to know before we spin this one down at the 2-hour mark? Because every time you guys see me look this way, it's because I'm looking at chat. I'm reading what you've got to say. So, you know, obviously, Vince, good old Vince McMahon there. Let's get Vince McMahon on the show. I want to talk to him about his addiction to these things.
I have 2/Woo users who are current wrestlers at WWE, so I mean, I have an in right there.
I would have the problem of upsetting him so much that he probably sends people to my house, because unlike you, I am not a fan of wrestling, and while I don't think it's like, I'm not a fan like how much I hate Q or something, I do think it's just so dumb that I don't. Because I like my forms of entertainment, like the various acting and whatnot, but that type of acting upsets me, not from the fact of the people doing it, or from but from the fact that I've actually run into so many dumb motherfuckers who try and explain to me why it's real. That's the only thing that upsets me about wrestling.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Right? Like that right there. How do you deal with that part of the fan base?
I don't even try to think about that. I'm like, it's performance art. I jive with it at a very primal level because I also am into doing performance art, and also I really enjoy people smashing light tubes and shit off of each other's heads to entertain other people. There's something about that really resonates with me. Also, they're really good at changing personas on a dime, and I appreciate that too.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's given us a few interesting people out there in the world. I'm a big fan of...
There's a few QAnons that are in the wrestling world, like like Drake Younger, a referee at WWE. That's kind of sad and depressing. He's been trying to spread the word of QAnon in the WWE locker room.
This is how deep into both cultures Kurt is at this point.
Yeah.
That was a crazy statement. To one, know the guy's name. I mean, oh my god. Yeah. You know, one day there will be video of Kurt getting just whacked from behind by a steel chair. And
Probably.
that video will be pay-per-view, so he doesn't have to get that job where he spends 1 hour a day actually working and 7 hours doing whatever he wants.
Oh, man.
All right, everyone. I'm starting to feel it. It's been about 2 hours here. Unless anyone has anything stopping me, I'm going to call it a show. Yeah, here we go. All right. Good
Actually, I
times.
have taken a solid chop from a wrestler. I went on the Chris Jericho cruise for our honeymoon a couple of years ago, and that shit, there was a handprint on my chest for probably a solid hour.
I can indeed say sup woo. Yeah. Kill Q, quest vibe. Yeah, you know, so that is definitely the mission going forward, is to somehow take the name back by people like this guy right here. So we'll see where that lands. But everyone, this has been great. We are taking off. Thanks, Tucking Vipos and everyone else in the chat there. I love it. Follow and subscribe. I like eating. I think our boy Kurt is probably going to end up with that wonderful setup he's got, having a stream at some point in the future. And
Yes.
And you'll subscribe to that too. And we'll have him on here, tell you all about it so you can go to it. But that subscribe button means we get to eat and keep doing this for anyone who enjoys it. So thanks for the help this stream. Love you guys. All right. Yes, microphone assassin, proving who you really are. I love it. All right, everyone. This has been a great night. Good night. Good night.
Oh.